What we don't know, Aaron, is what are the import competitors going to do?
Yeah.
Are they going to build 10 factories? Are they going to take pricing and pass it on to the customers this summer? You know, the stuff we built now is priced.
Ford just dropped a bombshell. They're packing up and leaving the U.S. market. Not over sales, not over demand, but because tariffs finally caught up and the math just stopped making sense. This isn't just a cost-cutting decision, this is a white flag. And if Ford, the symbol of American auto grid, is calling it quits on U.S. production in some areas, you better believe others are watching. Let's take a closer look at Ford, the symbol of all-American excellence. However, the reality is far different from this perception, because almost 60% of the components that go into U.S.-made Ford vehicles are sourced from outside our country. No wonder the corporation has publicly warned that the tariffs will increase the production expenses, and those expenses will necessarily be passed on to consumers. Picture yourself going into a dealership and discovering that the cost of a new Ford F-150 has increased by $2,000 to $5,000. That's not a small annoyance, it's a huge blow for the public. The dream of owning a new vehicle, which once seemed within reach, has now become an unattainable fantasy for millions of Americans. And it's not only the cost that's the issue. The ripple effects of these tariffs are already being seen throughout the nation.
President Trump's calling it Liberation Day. I call it Termination Day for American workers. I know, President Trump likes telling people you're fired. I didn't think he meant auto workers in the U.S. when he said that.
Layoffs are occurring, and they're occurring quietly. It's not news, but in Ford-dependent towns, the future is uncertain. The workers who assemble these vehicles, the suppliers who provide the parts, and the local businesses that depend on them are all part of a delicate ecosystem that is being threatened. Now let's talk about the supply chain crisis. This is where things get really interesting and concerning. The automotive industry has become a complex web of global supply chains.
Trump's auto tariffs are here, and that means
a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
But no car, not even a US-built Ford F-150, is 100% US made. Just look inside.
Take a Ford F-150, for example, that uses vast amounts of steel and aluminum from Canada. Much of the transmission that goes into American SUVs is built in Mexico and passed across multiple borders before finally reaching an assembly line. With all these components involved, the tiniest hitch, such as the tariffs, has the potential to throw the system into chaos. Ford's not alone, though. It's the whole sector. Even giants like Tesla are not exempt from this fact. The idea of a completely American-built car becomes ever more far-fetched. The business of the auto industry is global, and the global nature of these supply chains ensures that tariffs can wreak havoc on a huge level. It's a sobering realization. The very policies intended to save American jobs may end up destroying them.
And this is a direct attack, to be clear, a direct attack. This will hurt us, but through this period, by being together, we will emerge stronger.
Frankly, I'm very concerned about the behavior of the US government with this imposition of taxes on all products in all countries. And I'm concerned because at the heart of it, free trade is being undermined. We must consider what will serve Japan's national interest. We're strongly requesting the US not to apply these 25% tariffs on Japan. There are different options. We have to think about which is the most effective and have all options in mind.
If we step back and consider the larger economic picture, it's obvious that what's happening with Ford is indicative of a larger trend. The trade action and its impact reveal a fundamental shift in the U.S. economy. As we're worrying about these tariffs, nations such as China, Germany, and South Korea are getting ready to capture the world electric vehicle market. They're pouring heavily into their own manufacturing capabilities, and we seem to be idle and neutral. It's a race, and currently, America is behind the curve. Now, before we continue further, if you've liked our video so far, throw a like and hit that subscribe button for more of such content.
This is now really the wake-up moment for the German economy. The German economy has been stagnating now for almost 4 years. This is now really the moment to also put money on the table.
Europe's electric vehicle market is hitting some serious roadblocks, with big players like S-Volt and Audi feeling the heat.
The shutdown of EV battery factories in major states such as Ohio and Michigan is a stark example of this change. While American businesses are still learning to cope with the new economy, we risk losing whole industries that might never come back. The stakes are high, and the consequences run far deeper than just automobiles. It's about power, control, and the future of our economy.
Auto manufacturing accounts for more than 128,000 direct jobs across Canada, with most of those jobs located in Ontario. And when you factor in jobs tied to the auto industry, well, that number balloons to more than 500,000 positions. So the ripple effect of tariffs on employment is significant.
Just look at the towns that once prospered due to factory work. They were towns constructed on the promise of security and prosperity, where families might secure a living wage and plan a future. Today, with the threat of potential layoffs and factory shutdowns hanging over them, that promise seems a distant recollection. The tension is obvious, and it poses an important question. What becomes of these towns when the work evaporates? Looking ahead, the future of U.S. manufacturing seems tenuous. Ford's problems are representative of a far bigger crisis that can reshape the sector for decades to come.
Car parts is a big piece of it. This is where the world's car makers like to assemble their cars in Mexico and in Canada as well. Remember, they have that proximity to Detroit, the northern part, and really the Rust Belt.
It's critical that all of us, policymakers, business executives, and ordinary citizens, debate what these trade moves are all about. We must get the idea of supply chains and how networked our global economy is. This will assist us in making clear-headed decisions that will determine the future of American manufacturing. And don't forget consumers. When prices go up because of tariffs, it's not just a hassle, it's a serious economic burden. Families are already tight, and thousands of dollars added to the price of a new car could make the dream of car ownership unaffordable for many. This might have a ripple effect in the economy, with fewer individuals being able to purchase new vehicles, affecting dealerships, service stations, and the entire automotive community.
As countries around the world phase out the sale of new petrol and diesel cars, it's predicted that by 2030 there will be 145 million electric vehicles on the road, all of which will be fully emission-free at the tailpipe. But while electric vehicles' total emissions are still lower than their petrol and diesel equivalents, when you consider the humanitarian and environmental impacts from their manufacturing processes.
In addition, as we move through this difficult terrain, we also need to take into account the environmental impact. The acceleration towards electric cars is an essential move towards curbing climate change. But if U.S. manufacturers can't keep up, we risk falling behind in the shift to cleaner technologies. Nations that invest in building EVs and charging infrastructure will be out front, while America might be forced to play catch-up. It's a situation with long-term impacts on our economy and our planet.
Toyota is at the forefront of brands renowned for being environmentally conscious. Since the early 90s, environmental sustainability has heavily influenced Toyota's manufacturing every step of the way.
As we go deeper into the implications of these tariffs, it's obvious that there's a double-edged sword looming over us. The auto industry stands at a critical point, and what we do today will define its future for years to come. Ford's woes are only the beginning. They are a projection for a broader war for the heart of American manufacturing.